let's get right to our word of the day. Our word of the day today is fortitude. Fortitude, because the Sixers are going to need a lot of it. The Sixers are going to need a lot of it. Because what happened yesterday, in addition to the loss, and in addition to the 1 hour closed door meeting, that meeting was not really closed door because we found out all about it today. We found out all about it today. Now, while the Eagles at 2-2 had their bye week and showed a bunch of fortitude to get 6 straight wins, to get to 8-2, and they're favored on the road on Sunday against the Rams, they showed fortitude. Well, the Sixers are getting ready to have to after what happened today. And I got to say, there's some good. There is some good. And there's some bad from this. More bad, but there is some good. Tyrese Maxey apparently in the, quote, closed door meeting, which, since we heard about it, wasn't closed doors. They might as well have had the media there because they ended up hearing everything. He called Joel Embiid out for being late to everything. And apparently it was the elephant in the room. And if that's the case, that's obviously extremely unacceptable from Joel Embiid for multiple reasons. And you have to know this with the backdrop of certain reality, which is not so good. Everybody's lauding Maxey right now for calling him out, and I think it's great that Maxey called him out. But Maxey has stunk this year. And Paul George has stunk so far this year. Therefore, we know how important Joel Embiid is to this team winning and losing. We've learned so far this season, if they don't have the real Embiid, this team has absolutely no chance of winning. None. And clearly, he has shirked his responsibilities as the star to get himself ready because his team needs him that much. Now, I know the thinking in the offseason was they won't have to rely on Joel Embiid as much. That because of the 2-11 start, that because you have eyes, is just straight not true. So far, Tyrese Maxey, mostly without Joel Embiid, has a career low in field goal percentage so far, career low in three-point percentage, and that includes a rookie when he couldn't shoot. His rebounds are down. His assists are down. Only thing up is his points from pure volume. And they're not winning. Paul George has stunk. The importance for Joel Embiid to play well is as big as it's ever been for the Sixers. And according to the team, he's not doing everything he needs to do to make himself available for the team. Look at that problem. You don't have a path without Joel Embiid because Maxey's not good enough. I don't want to be this way, but since everybody's being frank and blunt today, Maxey's not a number one on a real team. You can't build around Tyrese Maxey. Anyone that calls or texts today and suggests building around Tyrese Maxey, you're wasting your time. Just like the team would be wasting their time trying to build around a number 3. You can't. There's no path there. It's out. Therefore, the anger towards Joel Embiid has to go up by infinitely for not being ready to play basketball to start the season and being late to, quote, everything. But at the same time, if he's not right, this team can't win. So what the hell do we do now? Does this locker room, does Joel Embiid, does Nick Nurse, does Tyrese Maxey, does Paul George, does Kyle Lowry, the shell of him, since November 6th, he hasn't made a shot. He's calling a meeting. Great. But there's no way to win without Joel Embiid. What are we supposed to do now? Tanking's not an option. It's not a real option. Building around Maxey, not a real option. Not a realistic basketball option. The only option we have is for somehow to Joel Embiid have to deal with this public humiliation and react to it. But what are the odds that happens? What are the odds there's enough fortitude in that building? Because you've seen it without him, it's horrible. You've seen it without him, it's horrible. But I applaud Maxey for calling him out. Even though Maxey's not from a position of strength because of how poorly he's played, he still did it. And I applaud Maxey for doing it. And it's shame on Joel Embiid for not having himself together. Shame on a player for not having himself together to start a season. You got to be professional. But at the same time, through all the anger, we have to recognize that if Embiid doesn't get right, nothing happens. Because Maxey's not good enough to overcome it, and neither is Paul George, and neither is Nick Nurse as a coach. The player that you're maddest at, the player that you're most disappointed in right now is the player you need the most. And that is never a good situation. All right, yeah, last year with the Eagles, we're worried about Cunningham and Morrow playing linebacker. Easily replaceable. Had it been Jalen Hurts, we're screwed. You can't have your best player be your biggest problem. And the fortitude that's going to have to be shown from here forward by the Sixers, and this was the choice when it made it public, sets up for just a pure disaster. Now, Ricky Bo, I want you to weigh in on everything.
Yeah.
But I have to talk to you about something as a professional athlete first, because you're the only one here. What does it mean to you as a person who knows what it's like to get paid to play a sport, that knows what it's like to have the locker room and how important that is in that safe space of a locker room? Forget Maxey calling Embiid out. You'll come out in just a moment. But what's it mean, Ricky Bo, when this leaks? Last night they do an hour-long meeting before Nick Nurse can address the media, and then by 12:30 the next day, we basically have a transcript of what was said.
Number one, closed-door meeting, team meeting. Team meeting. There's no media in that. There's not supposed to be any media in it. What is it there for? You have to pick that apart, first of all. It is there for you to file or throw out your grievances with whatever you want to do while you're in there, and you work on it as a team. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be just for the players. If the coaches were involved, then fine. So it's everybody kind of just filing their grievances together. What do you not like about what's going on? What do you like about what's going on? What can we do better? How do we make things better? It's all fine. When that leaks out of that locker room, there is a huge problem within that organization, within that team, within those players that are on that team. Whoever is responsible for leaking that should not be there anymore. Should absolutely be let out of the room and say, goodbye, we don't need you anymore. Because that is a bunch of garbage, what happened. When we have had team meetings, when I've been on the Phillies, we don't sit out there and run to somebody in the press and say, hey, guess what happened in the meeting? You know, that doesn't happen. The whole reason for having meetings is that you keep it within yourselves. Keep it within the family. The media is not your family. The media is looking for something to eat outside. And when you give them something, they are going to run with it. Where Shams came up with this, I don't know. We don't know that. We may find out at some point. But if I am somebody on that team, I am absolutely livid. And today or tomorrow when they practice, I would close the doors for the players. I would close the doors and I'd say, who went outside of this organization? Take a look at the people in here. Who went outside of here? Because it was leaked. It is garbage. It is mistrust. There's a lot of problems that goes along with this. If we had me, you, and Dylan had a meeting right now, and I went outside and told Paul Blake.
No, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Now, how pissed would you be?
I wouldn't talk to you.
I
wouldn't talk to you.
It's the exact same thing. Not only did you have a team meeting that's supposed to be you, the coaches, and whoever they have in there, it's not supposed to get in the press. We're not supposed to know about this. The fans aren't supposed to know about this. Somebody thought it would be cute to go and call Shams. Hey, Shams, guess what happened? Wow, Maxey, went off on Embiid. Yeah, it's great for us to hear because we could thrive on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not good for the players. That just means you got a narc in there, and you better get rid of them.
Now, here's the funny part.
You got somebody in there that doesn't care about you.
Historically, the way it has worked is Woj had team contacts, Shams had agent contacts.
Right.
That's how it always worked in the past. Who's Maxey's agent? It's Rich Paul, or Poor Paul, as I call him when he's not acting right. Could he have been the leak? Goes from Maxey to his agent to Shams, voila. Now think about the tiers of problems. This is why the word of the day is fortitude. Think about the tiers of problems we now have.
Can I say something else?
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something. They had this meeting thinking they may have worked everything out. this leaks. Do you think everything's worked out now?
No, nothing's working.
Nothing is now.
Nothing's working.
Nothing is.
Now, you have the number one problem of Joel Embiid, where you've seen it. They're 0-3 since he's been back. They were 2-8 without him, and that includes the Raptors missing 5 players. They lost to the Pistons at home. They stink without Embiid this year. So you need him. But if he showed up late to everything, it is a complete failure by him to be a damn professional. To be a professional, showing up on time is the minimum. Showing up on time is the minimum. If what Maxey said is true, there's absolutely no excuse for it from Joel Embiid, and at the same time, they badly need him. Badly, because they're pathetic without him. We can't pretend like that's not the case. Think about that problem to start us off. Because you saw Maxey without him. Maxey looked terrible. So, yeah, we're happy about him showing leadership. How about you come back and play ball better? Because he was terrible without him.
Nothing's
Nick Nurse, terrible without him. Paul George, terrible without him.
They don't even understand this right now, but they all need each other.
They badly.
One way or the other, they all need each other, but they don't all need each other playing at 50%.
No.
You need each other playing at a high level. You guys stink right now. I mean, is there any other word for it? They
right.
stink right now. They are playing horrible basketball. They're getting beat up by anybody who stands in their way right now. And you're going in and playing a Grizzlies team that's over 500. It could get worse tomorrow night.
They're losing tomorrow night.
And right now you got inner problems. You start having problems within the organization, it's going to make things 10 times worse.
And here's the other part where I talk about fortitude. You got to have a locker room that sticks together. Okay? There's going to be people who do bad things. So this is tier 2. Embiid's been apparently blatantly unprofessional. Tyrese Maxey, who has not played well but has been professional, calls him out on it, and then it leaks to the press. Okay, boom. How is there already finger pointing? Because, again, of the 11 losses, Embiid wasn't there for 8 of them. So now, first chance they got, they go, let's point a finger. Boom,
Yeah.
Big man, it's your fault, which I'm fine with. But the fact that they're publicly finger pointing shows you that the locker room is badly fractured right now. Or it's the whole locker room versus Embiid, which goes back to tier number 1. You stink without him. So if everybody's sitting there pointing at Embiid and saying it's your fault, and maybe they are, why are they so terrible without him? See, that's the issue you end up running into. Is that on the one hand, everything they're saying could be true. But on the other hand, they stink. They stink. You saw Maxey as a number 1. That's your future if you tried to build around him. It's not an option. Your option is to get him back playing well. Now, will this work? Maybe. Maybe. But he tends to be kind of sensitive. What if he pouts for a week? Where the hell does that put you?
Doesn't help at all.
Now, apparently, according to the
And by the way, it says in the article, it says Maxey loves big fella.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's coming from somebody within.
Yeah.
That's 100% within. Because if it was somebody like on the outside of the organization looking in, they wouldn't have said big fella.
Exactly. This is all internal issues from a team. All internal issues from the team. And they stink with them or without them, but you have no path without them. No path without them. And then it has to bring you, so then you got a fractured locker room. Then you got to go to the third tier of it. Nick Nurse has stunk so far this year. He's been horrendous so far this year. Now, the players say they want him to coach hard. Then he claims he wants players to have attention to detail. Well, wait a minute, Nick. If they're saying to coach him hard, then you do it. You don't throw something back at them. You do it. Maybe they're not paying attention because of you. Every player, especially when the team is 2-11, they're looking for their coach to give them something they can build on. You're not doing that, Nick. See, all of this opens up the blatant unprofessionalism, according to Maxey, from Joel Embiid. Blatant unprofessionalism. Blatant. Just blatantly unprofessional. Completely unacceptable. But then, it ain't like you balled out when he wasn't there, and then he came back and y'all started losing. then you got something. You've seen that sometimes where a star goes down and the guys step up. No one stepped up. If anything, they all stepped down.
Yeah.
They can't score 100 points in a game.
Leave Jared McCain out of this.
Then McCain is fine, but those numbers are hollow.
And number
He's got
one,
those hollow
it's also
numbers.
something with Jared McCain. I just said that kind of jokingly, but with Jared McCain, it's kind of like I'm going to prove myself in the NBA, which is what he's trying to do immediately.
They're going to all have to prove something.
Yeah, they have a lot to prove. They are not playing like a team. Even when you're missing your big guy, what do you try to do? Play like a team. You know what? Make sure you're doing your job. They're not doing their jobs.
No. Now, if there's people who have been putting out these numbers that are bad, here's where, if this meeting works, which I guess could, where things aren't all lost. People keep comparing this season to other seasons. Don't let them give you bad math. According to ESPN's advanced stats, they still have 77% chance to make the playoffs, even though they're 2-11. In the loss column, there are 5 games in the loss column out of the play-in tournament. Okay? With all these games left. 41 games probably keeps you out of the play-in. So the question is, can they go like 39 and then 20-something the rest of the way? Yeah, they could.
Yeah,
they could. Like 41 will probably. Historically, you can't look at historically with this year's East. Okay? Cavaliers winning every game throws it off. Them two and the Celtics got out to like $1.2 billion start. Throws the whole calculus of the conference off other years because it's so damn top-heavy. If they start playing well tomorrow, they could be fine. But they also could lose by 50 tomorrow because this got out. So we'll talk about all of it. We'll talk about all of it today. 610-632-0975. What we're going to attempt to do is be somewhat constructive. I understand some people just want to do I hate Embiid rants, and by all means, do those. And I'm telling you that if this blatant unprofessionalism is true, it's horrendous. Fine him every time he's late the rest of his life. I don't give a damn. This team stinks without him. You cannot get around the fact that the team stinks without him. Therefore, getting the most out of him is the only way to get the most out of the team. And also, another waste of time. A build around Maxey, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. You'll never win. You'll never win. He's not Allen Iverson. First of all, Dame's a small guard. What the hell has he ever won? He ain't Curry. You know how hard it is to build around a small guard? Let's just be honest here. You're not building around. He's a nice piece to have. He's a max player. I love Maxey, but the building around him is a non-starter. You know the other parts is a non-starter? You don't trade Joel Embiid at bottom value when an article comes out today. You don't then call people to trade him. You got to try to make sense. Okay? There is no trade path. If you want to talk about trading them, you're wasting your time. If you want to talk about building around Maxey, you're wasting your time.
You're not getting anything for Embiid right now.
I mean, you can get stuff, but you're not going to get anything that's going to help you win.
No, not help you win. What are we looking for? To go back to the process? No, thank you.
And your best player during the process will be a player that you'll never win with him being your main guy. Ever. That's why it's not an option. Doesn't mean he can't help you win, but he can't be the guy. Those are the only parameters of the conversation today. Let's try to make sense. But other than that, be as mad as you want. But we're going to attempt to make sense.